Here is everything you need to know in order to start making music in FL Studio. Let's dive in and get started. Welcome back to the video. Now the first thing to take note is when you launch your FL Studio, it's going to be like this, all right? But don't worry, you get to understand all of them as we proceed, and most importantly, the most relevant stuffs that you need to get started, all right, as a beginner. Now the first on the list is what we call the file tab. All right, now this is the file tab, and of course you can see some of the commands in the file tabs. But one thing to take note is that now the file tab provides you access to new commands, save commands, save as, import, export, and many of those. Now before we explain any of those commands, let's quickly talk about the 4 main pages to get familiar with as a beginner. All right, so before we talk about any of these commands, let's quickly talk about the most important pages, all right, to get yourself familiar with, to start creating or to start making music. All right, now the first on the list is what we call the playlist. Now to view the playlist, simply click this icon. All right, just enable it, and there you go. This is the playlist. Now this is where the magic happens. All right, and of course under the playlist we have what we call patterns, and by default it's going to be pattern 1. But before we proceed, let's quickly understand what we mean by playlist. All right, now the playlist is where you're going to arrange your beats and vocals and build your song. All right, now you want to think of the playlist as your work page. All right, just imagine the playlist as where you do the entire stuff, your work page. All right, it is also where you record your songs. Okay, but then as we proceed you get to understand. Okay, so I'm just going to unview this one. That is the playlist. We are done. Let's move to the next one. All right, let me quickly explain some of those commands. All right, and then we dive in. Okay, now the second on the list is what we call the piano roll. All right, to enable it or to view it, just click this icon and then you have it there. And as you can see, you can see the logo of the piano, your keyboard, you can see the sign and all of that. But most things to take note is that the piano roll is where you build your instrument loops, and most importantly you have control over your melodies, all right, and creativity. So this is where you want to build your instrument loops and tweak some of the settings. All right, so I'm just gonna mute this one and view it, though we are still gonna look at some of the functionality, all right, in that. But then it is important to understand these 4 main pages. All right, it is important. Now the next on the list is this icon, the channel rack. All right, to view it as usual, just click this icon and then you have it. All right, by default you have some of these drum kits. When you click on this icon, you have it, you can hear it, and you have a clap. It comes with these drum kits, all right, to get started with. Of course you can always replace it, you can always delete it, and of course you can always add or put in external samples, drum kits, loops and all that. But then let's proceed. Next on the list is what we call the mixer. All right, to view it, of course this is the mixer button. From the word mixer, this is where you mix your entire song, all right, and get it prepared for distribution. All right, so this is where all the magics happens. After you build your songs, after you create your patterns, after you are done with everything, this is where you want to send all of them to and mix it. After that, render it, and that's it. Now the first on the list is what we call the current. We have the master channel, and we have the insert tabs. We have all these inserts. As you can see, you can imagine, and of course you can see that all the insert is routed to the master. Insert 1 to the master. So after constructing or mixing your entire song, make sure everything is routed to the master, all right, so that you can have it as an audio, all right. But of course you are still going to see how those works, all right. We're still going to see how it works. Another thing to get familiar with is when you go to the channel rack, it comes with some extra knobs, extra icons, and as you can see is what the one here by the right, this guy is the channel volume, all right. You can, you can also see your gain. Now this is where you want to reduce the volume or increase the volume, and there are a couple of ways to do this, all right. You can either, anything you do here will affect this guy, all right, and of course you can also decrease the volume here after setting into a mixer, all right. But then before we talk about that, let's move to the next one, and the next on the list is the panel, all right, the panel buttons. So this is where you want to pan it to the left or to the right, and of course we have the mute button where you want to solo it, you want to mute it. This is the mute button, and as you can see, all of them as the same thing for the kick, for the claps, your 808 and all that. Now there's another thing that is very important for you to take note, which is the patterns, this guy and this guy, these two icons. Now it's important you understand the functionality of these two icons. The first one is the patterns. Now when you're on the pattern, it allows you to listen to the audio of your channel rack. So make sure whenever you're on this guy, you can listen to any of the things that you create on your channel rack, all right. And whenever you're on this guy song, you can listen to any of the things corrected in this space. And of course remember, this is your playlist, okay. So whenever you play something and you want to take a listen, you want to listen to it, make sure this one is checked, then you can listen to it. And then whenever you're working, you're building your stuffs, you're on your channel rack, this guy, make sure this is checked, okay. But then we are just going to build something very quickly. We are on the channel rack, we're just going to build something very quickly. Let's say I have something like this. Can you see that? If I had another one, automatically everything will be visible, okay. But then you can right click on it and say maybe fill in with 2 steps. Let's just do something very simple. Can you see that? As we begin to build it, and of course you can control it yourself, and that's just it. All right, of course, we are just, I just want to get you guys familiar with the functionality of this. We are not really doing something very difficult, but then just to walk you through how this thing works. All right, you can of course take your time, construct something very nice. All right, so let's just stick with this. All right, from the samples, let's stick with this. Now all I have done in this place, for me to listen to it in the playlist, of course, remember, this is your work page. Remember, this is where you're going to arrange your beats now, and of course remember, this is where you're going to construct your beat. After constructing, creating your beat, you want to arrange it here, okay. That's that. All right, now by default, what we have in this place by default is going to be here. Now as you can see, all we have here now by default is going to be as pattern 1, which you can of course right click and rename it, okay. You can just rename it and say sample. You can say samples, you can rename it. All right, and then I can come here and put it here. Then I can now come to song and take a listen. Can you see that? So that's it. Then another thing you can do is you can even give it a color. But before we give it a color, you can even separate it. Now, as you can see that we have kick, we have clap, we have hi-hat, we have snare, but then everything is grouped to this guy. Now it's not really okay like this. Now it's important to split it so that you can have control on the entire stuffs. You can have control on the kick, you can have control on the beats, the hi-hat, the snare, and what have you. All right, so all you need to do is to right click and say split by channel. Click it, and of course everything has been divided. All right, so all you have to do is to highlight all of them and just what, drag it to your playlist. And of course when I play it now, see what happens. Can you see that? So which means everything you have here, everything we have here has been divided here. You know, this is the kick, this is the clap, this is the hi-hats, and this is the snare. All right, can you see that? So that is how you build your song. And of course you can duplicate it. Let's say I want to duplicate this to the next row. Now all I have to do is to hit Ctrl B on my keyboard, and automatically I have that. So this is where you want to build your song, you know, on the playlist. All right, now another thing to take note is all these icons. All right, we have what we call snap to grid. All right, and we have what we call, but then you see I'm just going to walk you through the most important one for now, and later we get to dive deep. All right, but for now I'm just going to make this video very short, not so long, and most importantly what you need to know to get started. All right, so that is all this video is all about. So guys, this icon we call it draw. Just think of, you know, when this one is enabled, you can just pick any of these. You know, this is kick, make sure you click it, you can put it anywhere. Now if I want to take this guy snare to this place, I have to click it, left click, and just left click again. So it's, you know, see this guy drawing as hand. All right, like a pick tool that you use to pick an object or any element or any samples or any patterns to another location. You see that? You know, just see it as your hand. Do you understand? Just click it and pick and drop it. All right, click to pick and click to drop it. Okay, click here again to pick and click here to drop. All right, so this is what you want to use this icon to arrange in between. Let's say I want to pick this one here, you know, I want to put this one here, you know, just to do something with your song and your entire beat. Now the next on the list is what you call the paint buttons. This is what you use to duplicate. For instance, you can see that you can use that to duplicate and all that. All right, I'm just going to undo that. All right, so another one is what you use this guy select. You use it to select, of course, from the word select. You use it, you know, you highlight and you can delete, highlight and delete. Then the next on the list is what we call this guy. Just see it as a mute button. Let's say for instance I don't want this one to play, I can just mute it. I can mute it, of course. Now can you see that? So you use that to mute in between your patterns. All right, and of course another one is this guy, sliced, of course, you know, to divide. From the word slice, you use it to divide, and you know, you want to divide this guy, you use it to divide. And of course I'm just going to come to this guy and, you know, unmute it because it was muted. And now, quick functions, quick tips. When you click on this guy, this drawing icon, the last thing I forgot to mention, and when you left click, is going to pick something and drop it. But when you right click on that thing, it's going to disable it. All right, it's going to delete it. This is another way you can use to delete something. All right, so that's that. Now this is what we have so far. Good. Now another thing you want to take note is this icon. This is just what we call a tempo. All right, now for instance, this beat that I'm creating right now is at 130 BPM. All right, 130 beats per minute. Now this guy, and of course you can change it by right clicking on it and change it to any of your desire. I can see make it on 80 and see what happens. Everything will still be intact, and of course you can still right click and make it 150. All right, so we're just going to stick with this. And another thing to take note is what we call your metronome. This is where you want to hear the count. Maybe you are creating something as a producer, you know, you want to be, you know, can you hear can you see that? Now another thing is, as you can see, now let's say we want to mix this right now. You know, this is our what's it called, the channel rack. Now everything by default, you know, everything has been routed to 1 2 3 4, and that is it. When I play it, see what happens. Can you see that? This is the kick. This is the kick is on the one. You know, when I solo this now, let me solo it. You only hear the kick and the metronome. Let me disable this one. Can you see that? When I solo this one, you see that clap? So of course you can change the location. How do you change it? Just change it to your, let's say I bring it back to defaults. Now when I put it now to 0, I didn't put it on any channel. All right, when you see this icon, means it's not on any channel. When I play it, everything is going to run on the master. All right, as you can see, everything is going to be on the master. All right, but then when you put it on 1, you see, can you see that it goes to where you assign it to? And to assign anything to let me come back here, this guy, to assign, you can, just use your cursor and just push it to, all right, and you can just say, type in value, maybe channel 5. all right, it has been routed to this guy. Now when I play it, see what happens. Can you see it? This one has been routed to this. Then, and of course, you know, it's self-explanatory. And of course you can highlight all of them. All right, and let's say for instance I want to give this thing color. I want to give it a color so that I can easily identify what I'm working on. All I have to do is to highlight all of them. To highlight all of them, just double click on one, all right, and say and on your keyboard you're going to click Control Alt and C. all right, as you can see, we already have the color. Or you can say Command Alt and C on Mac. all right, but for Windows users, just click Control Alt and C and you have that. Now as you can see that everything is selected right now. Now let's say I want to assign all of this to this mixer. As you can see, all of them is in channel, all of them is in 1 but I want to, you know, automatically, let's say I have plenty of this, then I want to automatically set it to my mixer. all right, without going through it. All I have to do is to press Ctrl Shift and L on the keyboard or on the Mac, then everything is going to assign. So as you can see, Control Shift L, everything pops to the mixer. And here right now you have 1, 2, 3 and 4. All right, when I play it, and of course you can see it. Very good, very good, very good. And of course you can still come to this guy, right click, you can see rename it. Maybe you want to remove this guy, you can right click, you can rename it and see and mark it, right click, rename it. All right, backspace, right click, rename it. And of course you can type in anything you want and just click enter, and you have that. And of course you can reduce the volume. All right, can you see that? You can reduce the volume, you can reduce the volume, all right, of what you're working on. All right, then another thing to take note is you can decide how you want to view your mixer. By default is going to be, let's come to this guy. By default is going to be like this. Yours may be like this, but then I love to put it in large, all right, so that I can see what I'm working on. And of course you can pick any of your choice. We have a lot of it there. You can pick anyone that suits your project or your preference. All right, I love to put it on extra large. Okay, and that is that for mixer. Trust me, there are a lot of things to know as regards to mixer, but then as a beginner and to get started, this is all I think you know for now to get started. Then as you proceed, you get to know more and more. All right, now let's proceed. Then as you can see, the color we have here does not reflect here in our playlist, and all I have to do right now to give it a color, just the same way, highlight all of them, and then you want to right click and say random color. Automatically is going to give it a color. All right, so that's that. Make sure this one is enabled. All right, and you have that. So all right, so that's it for now. Then let's proceed. Now another thing to take note is that you can change any of these samples that you have here. You can change it. This is the kick that comes with FL Studio. You can change it. All right, if you want to, you can change it, and you can change this. Now it is important that you have your external samples, maybe the one you downloaded from a site, on your computer or on your external drive. All right, then all you have to do is to locate the file where it is. All right, and then you can easily browse it in. Let's say for instance, look at, I have some samples here. I have some stuffs here. Can you see that? I have some samples here that I can drum loops. You see, I have some samples here that I can easily drag to my work page, and when I play it, can you see that? Can you see that? Okay, I'm just going to delete this guy. I don't need it. But then let's proceed. Now the idea, what I'm trying to say is that for you to put your samples, your stuff that you downloaded somewhere, all right, to your FL Studio, all you need to do is to go to this icon, options, then you want to go to file settings, maybe this guy, and then you have it. All right, then you want to come to this, we have folder, browse extra search folders. All right, and you have all this one, and as you can see, this one has been panned to one of my folders. This one has been linked to one of my folders. All right, we have some free space here. Let's say I want to link another one. I'll just click here, and then I cannot go to where my stuff is. Click the folder and say select folder, and by default it's going to be there, and anything you have here is going to appear here. All right, as you can see, music production, as you can see it here, you have this one, drum, Sammy drum presets, as you can see it here. So, and that's it. All right, so this is how to make your workflow more efficient and very easy. Then another way to get to that is to come to this icon, MIDI settings, and then you want to go to file and give it a name. All right, then another thing to take note under your file is you can go to theme, you can give it a color, you can change the color. By default, yours could be like this. You can change the color to your choice. All right, but then I love to put it on black. I love this one. Yep, I love this one. Then of course, project we have. Okay, let me not go too far. All right, let me not go too much. We're going to keep this for another time. All right, so I want this tutorial to be very simple enough so that you don't just um, bombard with so many details. All right, but I'm just going to make it very simple so that you get yourself familiar with the environment. All right, and in order for you to get started, so far this is what we have, and that's it. Then another thing on the list I want to talk about, we have, FL Studio comes with um bunch of presets and plugins. Now, as a producer, it is important that you get yourself familiar with plugins. Plugins are very powerful, and they're very important to understand. As you can see from the mixer, there's one thing I forgot to mention earlier. It comes with each of these inserts has some slots. All right, now these are slots. All right, it comes with like 10 slots. Each of the inserts has slots, and this is where you want to put your plugins. All right, now let's say you downloaded a plugin and then you want to install it. You've installed it to your computer, but then you want to enable it on the FL Studio so that you can work with it. All right, so that you can work with it. Then all you have to do is to come to this plus sign and go to more plugins, and everything you see here are the plugin that I have installed. All right, and the one I installed and the one that comes with FL Studio. But you want to go to this icon, so it's going to bring this commands, this dialog box. Then you can search for your plugins. All right, you can search any name of your choice. All right, but then you can as well come to this icon. If you can't find it, come to manage plugins, and then it's going to bring these icons. Now this is where you want to click this guy, find installed plugins. So when I click this guy, it's going to search through my stuffs, and then you cannot see it. And anyone installed is going to have like yellow. Any new version, any plugin installed on your computer, after it might have finished scanned it, you will see like a yellow sign. All right, so you just have to enable it. Now, this one is white because it has already searched it, it has already enabled it. So just make sure that you check it, you see, you make sure you check it, and then you're done. Okay, so that's that. Then once you have your plugin, you can now start working with it. All right, now let's say I want to play something now. I'm just going to open my FL key. Now my computer, what's it called, my keyboard is connected to my computer. If I play something now, all right, so this is where you want to put in your melody. You want to create something. All right, so, and that's that. And then if you play anything now, it's going to display, and all I have to do now to play something is to click this icon. This is where you want to record audio. All right, so if I say click on this guy now, it's going to bring a dialog box asking which one of it. Now because I just want to play something, you click notes and automation. All right, click this guy. Now we can start to record, and as you can see, so right now, I just play something very rough. Let's take a listen what we just have right now. So now this is this is where the piano roll comes in. Now all I've played is in this guy on my FL key. You want to right click and go to piano roll so that you can see what you've got. All right, so I'm just going to make sure I click this guy and take a listen. Can you see that? So that's it. Now this is a velocity. Velocity is how hard you press your hand on the keyboard, right? How hard do you want this thing to to sound, how low you want it to sound. And to adjust the velocity, you can simply pick any of it, all right, or just click Alt X on your keyboard and then you can bring it up, the velocity up, accept. Can you see that? So you can take it up or Alt X and you can just check it out. All right, can you see that? Then another thing you can do is, if you want all the velocity to be in the same volume pace, each note, if you want each note to be on the same volume pace, all you need to do is just hold shift on your keyboard and just drag this icon. All right, so now when I play it, everything now is on the same volume. So I'm just going to undo that, but literally that is how that's how it works. And then as you can see, I've played something now which is on here. Sorry, I did not need this guy. I do not need it. I don't need it. So now I've played something on the keyboard, which I have here. All right, I can give it a name if I like, which by default is not assigned. By default is not assigned to the mixer, which I can always come here and say I'm going to put it on what, number 5. I can right click and type value and say 5. All right, or I just push it myself. So when I play it, can you see that? So I can decrease the volume and then I can reset the volume. Then another thing you want to add is, maybe you want to add what we call parametric EQ. All right, I've showed you guys how to put in your plugins. All right, to add some plugins. Now let's say I want to mix it right now. Now the first thing I want to add, let's say for instance, left click and then let's say fruity parameter EQ. Now all you see here are the plugins that I have installed on my computer. All right, so yours might not have all this, but because I have a lot of plugins on my system, so I'm just gonna, now this is the what's it called, this is the stock plugins EQ. I may want to take away the low, maybe just high pass. All right, so this is where you want to get started, but then there's a lot to cover as FL Studio is concerned. But then just to make this very simple, not to, as a beginner, I don't want it to be too much for you. All right. So, and this is where you want to add some of your plugins. Okay. And that's it, literally that's it. And then after that, you want to export it. Okay. And then how do you export it? You want to come to this guy. Make sure as you work, it is important that you save it. When I click save, it's going to bring this icon. You're going to give it a name and then select a location. All right, and click save. Okay, make sure save as. And of course, what save as means is to duplicate what you have before. You want to keep what you've saved before, but then what you now work on later, you now want to save it differently. All right, let's say I've saved this guy right now. Then when I come to save as, of course, from the word save as is to duplicate what you've saved earlier. All right, so maybe I want to duplicate what I have before, or I have added some extra stuffs on the project. Then but I want to save it aside different from what I have before. I'm just going to click that icon, save as. So when you cannot give it another name. Maybe this one is project 2. So when you save it, you have one aside on unaltered, then you have this one. Okay, so that's that. And of course, from the word import, you can import some files. I'm not gonna close this. You can import some files from your computer, all right, and export. You can, everything you have here, when you export simply means to convert it to audio, and you want to take it out of the work page. Now remember, I said think this page, your playlist, as your work page. All right, now once I'm done with the entire thing, I've mixed it, I'm done. Now all I have to do is to export it. You take it out. All right, and that is where you want to go to the file and say export. Now it's going to ask you from these tabs, which of the version do you want? Do you want it as WAV file or MP3? I'm just going to say WAV file, and then you want to select a location and click save. Give it a name and click save. All right. And of course, I'm just going to cover another tutorial on how to apply the right settings for your save knobs. All right, so that you can have best quality as possible. All right, so let me just say Control R on my keyboard. I can just give it a name, sample. Then it's going to bring these icons. Now this is where you want to put in some, but then I'm just going to create another video or another tutorial explaining details about how to properly set your savings. Okay, so I'm not going to touch this. This one itself is loaded with so many things that it is important we take our time to explain it. Okay, now you see what I've just shared with you are just tips as compared to what FL Studio can do. All right, now there is a lot of things I do not cover, all right, because I don't want this video to be too long. All right, but then what I've just shared with you is just to get you started. All right, so that you can navigate yourself through the the work page and know how this thing works. All right, and get started to start making music. Okay, but then as we proceed, we have some series of episodes whereby we go in details in some of the knobs. Most importantly, the mixer, we go in details to explain the functionality. We go in details for the and how you can even have or add some loops and others. But then that's it for now. All right, and don't forget to subscribe to this page. That's it for today. If this video is helpful, consider to subscribe, and see you in the next video. Peace out.